And a very warm welcome to Gavin Pearce, Federal Liberal Member for Braddon. Good morning to you, Gav.
Well, g'day, Mike, and g'day to your listeners.
How are you? I mean, how'd you go with the long weekend? I mean, would have been a bit breezy at your place too.
Well, it almost blew my hair off, Mike. Out on the farm just west of Wynyard there at Lapornia in Myalla. I can tell you that wind did a hell of a lot of damage, and the damage is continuing to be assessed. You know, we've got farmers out that way that can't milk cows, that have to have generators in, and of course the impact not only on the residents but also the agri-business operations that we've got in the region is just vast, and it's going to be quite some time before we clear that up.
Yeah, a day or so, at least possibly tomorrow afternoon, they are saying that's a amazing event, and they're suggesting one in 10 years as such. But I tell you what, it was just for where it seemed to be a pocket and cause all of that damage, pretty well your patch. It just was insane. All I've been able to do is see the photos and the coverage from it, and I thought this is just incredible.
But I agree with that. And what I would like to say is the amount of resources that TasNetworks, that our volunteers in SES and the fire service, the rural fire service that they've provided. They really have dug deep and provided that support where it's really needed. So a big shout out to all those people that are doing it tough, cleaning up all that mess today.
Yeah, indeed. And congratulations on your promotion to Shadow Assistant Minister for Health, Aged Care and Indigenous Health Services.
No, thanks, Mike. And it's a big job and it's a big task, something that, I've always been passionate about. It's something that I think I can get my teeth into. It's something that really will benefit the region. And, you know as well as I do, my focus has been for the last 3 years predominantly on the region itself.
Yeah.
And if I can in some way impart a benefit back into the region by doing this work, then I think that's a double positive.
What's first up then for you in that regard, to those portfolios, and where do you start?
Well, and that's a good question. It's almost, one of those things that you almost don't know where to start, but, it's like eating an elephant. You just got to do it one mouthful at a time. And, Anne Ruston is the minister. She comes with, credentials a mile long. Anne has come from the social services portfolio. She understands exactly what this region needs. She understands that it's not just a matter of throwing money at say, for instance, the health system or the aged care system. It's a matter of management, of governance, of mechanics, of workforce. There are multi-layers involved here. Anne understands that full well, as do I. And, I'm grateful for the support and the contact that I get every day of people at ground zero telling me exactly their woes and their issues that they have. So we'll feed that back in. We'll keep things progressing. And as I said, it's a hell of a big job, but it's a job worth doing.
I tell you what, it's one of the big, when you think of Tassie and you think of health and you think of aged care, Indigenous health services, that's a cracker. And considering aged care is right up there as well, I mean, with our ageing population in Tas so much, that's something that you probably will be able to sink your teeth in big time.
Yeah, and you will have noticed that, that last announcement we put into Queenstown with getting those extra aged care beds down there. When we feed that back into Canberra, I wonder sometimes whether they fully comprehend exactly what a place like Queenstown needs, and how, if they had loved ones up the coast here in aged care, that's a 5-6 hour round trip. That person in that family could ordinarily be housed and looked after in Queenstown. So those little things are important. They were important to me at the time, and I'll have to continue to, because Tasmania is unique, as you know.
Absolutely.
And you can't put the cookie cutter mould from Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane into places like Queenstown. And the list goes on when it comes to those, those variants that we have within the electorate of Braddon.
And you're spot on to say that, because there's so many people, having lived in the West Coast for such a time, that have no idea about the tyranny of distance, have no idea about, where winter situations, road closures, they have no idea. And those people sitting up on their Canberra throne. So, I mean, that's where it's good that we're going to have someone that, you're front line, that can actually get there and to help out when it's needed. Speaking of front line too, it must be, you tell me about the dropping of Veterans Affairs to the outer ministry, Gav.
Yeah, Veterans Affairs, as you know, is very near and dear to my heart, as it is. And I'd say, Tasmania really, really does have a big space in their heart for our veteran community.
Yep.
And when that was moved from the cabinet, from into an outer ministry, I was certainly, to be honest, I was gutted, but I've invested a lot of time and effort into making sure that our veterans are cared for, that are looked after, that transition from the big military, from Army, Navy and Air Force, that's done seamlessly, that we involve families, that we try and get them back into meaningful work and give them a purpose again. That $5 million that we put into Veterans Wellness Centres in Tasmania, that will continue. That's a line item in the budget, so that is on its way. And as well as that, you'd be aware of the $2.4 million that of additional money that we went back into, the minister and was able to get that for our Northwest Veterans Centre here in Burnie. It's headed up by a bloke called Johnny Finlater and Dr. Andrew Clark, a bloke that I served with. He's now a GP. And my word, they're doing some fantastic work, and it's work that is proactive. So rather than feel sorry for our veterans, rather than look backwards, rather than look retrospectively at caring for our veterans, what they're doing is proactive work. They're trying to get veterans active, get them connected again, get them back into, as I said, meaningful work and a purpose. They're trying to involve the families. They're being, preventative rather than trying to clear things up after the fact. So I'm just pleased that will go ahead, and they're doing some fantastic work right here on the coast. And it's surprising by the amount of veterans that we see not necessarily settling in the big capital cities. They're moving to the regions. They're getting out in the sticks. That means that we've got to be more proactive, more flexible, more providing that meaningful care for them in the place where they need it most. So, they're at the moment ordering a vehicle so that they can get out to places like, we talked about Queenstown. Yeah. It's a surprising amount of veterans that we've got down the West Coast. They all need help, and they won't necessarily travel to, Burnie, Devonport, Launceston. We need to get the help to them, and that's what the Northwest Veterans Centre is all about, and that's why I'm so proud of it.
And I know the RSL, the Return and Services League of Australia, they've acknowledged that many veterans are deeply concerned and indeed angered, is their quote, at the apparent downgrading of the Veterans Affairs portfolio, placing it in that outer ministry. So it is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it is. And I'll continue to try and have that fixed. Yeah. However, I'm no longer the government, and I've got to use the mechanism of opposition to do that. Yeah. But what I would say, Mike, is that even 12, 18 months ago, I was saying that they had defence personnel in with the Veterans Affairs. I was even saying that portfolio should be split up. So I don't necessarily feel that defence personnel and veterans, you can't do justice to both from the one ministry. So, it's a huge It's a huge portfolio, the Veterans Affairs portfolio, and it's something that has so many nuances, particularly when you apply that to a state like Tasmania, particularly when you apply that to all the variants that we see in our regions, and it's through getting to them and using that local knowledge, that on the ground need that we need to feed back into Canberra.
I know that the Albanese government is committed to spending an additional $500 million, they say, on veterans' welfare, and they're saying that's going to be the case. So, well, it's the old story. We'll wait and see. Something that, speaking of defence, tell me that with the subs, I don't think we'll ever get a sub now before 2040, but they're saying now that the ageing Collins-class submarine fleet might be getting armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles. And these subs are, 30-year-old just about?
Yeah, they are. And, I mean, Tomahawk missiles have been around for a while as well, but what we're saying now is with the Defence 2020 strategy, that shifted. I mean, you've got to think where defence has come from in the last, say, 20 years. You know, we've been running around the sandpit in Afghanistan and Iraq, completely different warfare tactics, weaponry than what we are now seeing. And we've now, through that 2020 strategy, we've now seen the centre of the Indo-Pacific being identified as our epicentre when it comes to defence. Now, Blind Freddy can see that's a third of the globe almost. When you think about the nature of the scope of that part of the globe that we need to defend. And that means that we're going to need strike missile capability, hypersonics. We're going to need that those platforms, be it seaborne, be it air, or be it, in fact, some of our land launch capability. We're going to need that spread right across that area of operations. And I'm not convinced that the Collins class is ready to cut that. We need a vertical launch capability on a nuclear-powered submarine. That means that we can launch these hypersonic guided missiles where they're needed in that area of operations. So, if we keep doing what we always did, then we'll always get what we always got. And I'm not sorry to say that a diesel submarine in today's day and age. It ain't going to cut it, Mike.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree with you on that. Tell me about Volunteering Australia, the letter from the CEO of Volunteering Australia regarding the decline in volunteering since COVID, which I thought we might be getting a few more, but that's not the case.
No, we're copping a hit when it comes to volunteers. And, I mentioned them before when you talked about the damage that the wind event had on the weekend. We all know how important, how vital our volunteers are.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing a huge decline. It fell by 36% in 2019 to just 24.2% in April of 2021. And, again, this is an area which is so vast when it comes to the various forms of volunteer organisations that we have, and what it's worth to the country as well, Mike. It's estimated that volunteer organisations are worth around about $5 billion to the Australian economy annually. So, you take that out, and that means that's got to fall back onto government, and I can hedge my bets and have a guess that our volunteer organisations do things a lot more efficiently and a lot more sharper when it comes to the bottom line than what the government ever would. So we're lost without our volunteers.
So we need more volunteers.
We do, and they're doing a study into the strategy. We understand that in most families nowadays don't have the time up their sleeve. So we need to be more flexible in relation to the way we employ our volunteers, the way we operate these volunteer organisations as well. So that's what this study is all about. You can get onto volunteeringstrategy.org.au and fill out that survey. That if you've got any ideas, any strategies, anything that would help you volunteer in some capacity, because it's absolutely vital in a number of different areas for our communities, particularly here in Tasmania.
Well, I mean, it's straight away you'll think of those in orange, but it's not just that. It's those that man the counter at the information centres. There's those that help the ambulance, that help the police, that help. The list is, like I said, it's endless, but we just need more volunteers. So if you can help, indeed, get in touch with Volunteering Australia. There's a website. If you Google it, you'll find out as well. What was that website they can do that research on, Gav?
Just get on to volunteeringstrategy.org.au, and if you just type in volunteeringaustralia.org, that would take you, I would imagine, to that link.
Yeah, look, Gav, I think so important. Good to talk to you, mate. You've got a lot on your plate, and so I look forward to having a chat in the next couple of weeks.
It's always a pleasure, Mike, and it's great to be on the show.
Good to talk to you. Thanks, Gav. Appreciate your time. Gavin Pearce, Federal Liberal